This is what we're battling. This is what we're battling right here in the United States. This is what Representative Troy Nehls had to say in regards to Cori Bush and this investigation that the DOJ has into her in regards to how she used funds to pay for her security.
She doesn't even support the police. But the idea to pay her thug money to try to help protect her, this and that, for what? Maybe if she wouldn't be so loud all the time, maybe she wouldn't be getting threats.
Are you saying she deserves to be threatened?
No, what I'm saying is that when you're out there talking the way she does, I'm surprised that people are probably pretty upset because she's a pretty radical. She's pretty radical. And maybe she should tone it down a little.
Yes. In reference to Cori Bush's husband, he said the idea of her to pay her thug. This is the same man that's running around to whoever would allow him to speak in a microphone and is admitting to everyone that they will not vote for a bill to help solve the issues at the border because it will help President Biden's approval rating. They don't really care about protecting America's border. They don't really care about protecting Americans. They care about power. This same man moved to Fort Bend County, Texas in 1994, and he joined the police department of Richmond, Texas. In 1998, he was fired for reasons including destruction of evidence. Y'all know I had to dig a little bit deeper to see if I can find what those other reasons as to why he was fired. And so I scrolled a little bit further down on Google and I saw a link from the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and this is what they had on this guy that likes to call Cori Bush's husband a thug. According to Houston Public Media, Nehls was fired by the Richmond, Texas Police Department for reasons including destruction of evidence. Nehls was fired by the Richmond, Texas Police Department for reasons including destruction of evidence. Nehls was also charged with underage drinking and obstructing an officer in 1988. He later applied for a job with the Fort Bend ISD Police Department, signing a form saying he'd never been charged with a crime. Chief of Police sent a notice of termination to Nehls outlining his wrongdoings. A letter designated as notice of termination was sent from Police Chief Bill Whitworth to Officer Nehls and appeared as follows: your repeated violations of the policies and procedures of this department, as well as your continuing disregard for orders issued to you by your supervisors, has resulted in this termination, which is based on the Richmond Police Department's General Orders Section 300.08. Attached, you will find a listing of the incidents that are the basis for this action. On January 31st, 1997, Nehls failed to contact a victim to obtain additional information for a report. He was directed to 13197, failed to contact a victim to obtain additional information for a report as directed by Sergeant Kovar. The sergeant was told there was no further information. The sergeant then contacted the victim himself and got the information. March 23rd, 1997, Nehls charged a wall plaque to the police department without authorization. 32397 charged a wall plaque to the police department without any authorization. So he's spending the police department's money without getting approval. March 3rd, 1997, Nehls improperly handled evidence after receiving a memo with exact instruction due to his past mishandling. 3/3/97 failed to properly handle evidence after receiving a memo explaining the proper methods of evidence handling due to the past mishandling. April 4th, Nehls received verbal counseling for improper handling of evidence. April 23rd, 1997, Nehls received verbal counseling for issuing an improper traffic citation to avoid making an arrest. May 16th, 1997, Nehls received written counseling for failing to comply with written instructions on the handling of arrests. May 20th, 1997, Nehls was found at a store several blocks from where he said he was. June 3rd, 1997, Nehls destroyed evidence after being told to enter it. September 26, 1997, Nehls failed to follow an order to return property to its owner. October 8, 1997, Nehls received a written reprimand for failure to submit needed information for a report. October 22, 1997, Nehls received written counseling for being out of his vehicle without notifying dispatcher as required. October 22nd, 1997, Nehls received a 3-day suspension without pay for disregarding a written directive and misleading a supervisor. November 4th, 1997, Nehls failed to address half the issue he was assigned to. November 25th through December 11th, 1997, Nehls received 3 verbal orders and 1 written order before he took proper action on writing required citations. January 8, 1997, Nehls took a civilian rider in patrol vehicle after receiving a verbal reminder the month before about the same thing. December 1997 through January 1998, Nehls received 2 sets of verbal reminders and verbal counseling for failure to do house watches as required. January 8, 1998, Nehls received a written warning for going to a restaurant without notifying dispatch as required. January 14, 1998, Nehls received a verbal warning for working an extra job without prior approval as required. February 3rd, Nehls appeared to have hired an attorney to petition his termination with the city manager, saying the disciplinary action against him was selective and arbitrary and resulted from prejudice. 1998, Nehls was charged for underage drinking and obstructing an officer, a charge he failed to disclose on a signed application form with the Fort Bend ISD Police Department. New Maven, Nehls committed fraud by lying on a signed, sworn, and notarized affidavit for a previous job about underage drinking arrests in 1988. That underage drinking charge was probably going to prevent him from being able to get the job as the police officer. But with all of that, with his record, who's the thug? Y'all let me know down below.